So this is an example of a model. So this is the parent screen. He wants to fund this wallet. The user of this account wants to fund this wallet, and then he clicks on proceed. The parent screen is still available, but the model comes up over a background. So if you look at this screen, you will see some best practices that are here. You don't just, if I take this design and place it here, this is still a model, but you will discover that this is a better option than this, but both of them are models. But what made this design a better option to this is because of some best practices that were followed while designing that model. So I'm going to show you those best practices. First of all, we have to talk about the simple rules on how to design a good model. Okay, number one, do not use models to show error or weighting or success rate. For instance, you're building a website. Let me see. Okay, let me say, let me say, let me say this guy is filling his form. He has filled, proceed to the second one, filled, and then click on proceed, and then you see stuff like this. This is a waiting listing. This is not a model. Okay, this is not a model. So what that place is saying is when you're building a model, don't use a model to show, let's say, an item is waiting, or if you've ever used, if you've ever subscribed to a newsletter where they say subscribe, and then you click on the subscribe button, and then while the thing in between when you click on the button and when you get the success message that your item has been subscribed to, don't use a model to show that success message. Okay, so whether it's a success rate or it's waiting or it's error, do not use models to show any of those. Designers often use models to display error or loading and success rate, but models aren't effective for this purpose because they block the parent screen. So the fact that people are using it doesn't mean it's a law, it's an ideal thing to do. So these are the things you should be wary of. Okay, oftentimes you see designs where they break some of these laws, but I think I told you guys in my last class that most of these laws are not cast in stones. Nevertheless, don't make it a habit. For instance, you see what happened here. Somebody performed an action, and then a model pops up and says an unknown error has occurred. Close. You make the user stress. This thing is something that can come up on the screen without having the user to go the stress of clicking, do an extra click. So while this might be termed a good design to give a user a better view of what he's doing, is really not the best in terms of implementation, in terms of UI. Okay, so when you have errors should be provided in the context of user input or in separate screen. The first approach is preferable for input forms. For instance, imagine the person is filling a form and then you fill in a wrong information. Instead of an error message to come up like this, it now comes up like this, the first one on top here. It becomes a problem and a very big UX issue. Okay, it becomes a very big UX issue. But bringing up an error screen like this is an feature.
Sure.
Okay, I don't know why I can hear myself. It's often tempting to use a model to show that loading feature, but if possible, find a more elegant solution. Okay, a better approach is to add a loading state right close to where it's happening. If you're clicking a button and it's loading to, for instance, if you're putting your bank application, your just say put your account bank your bank your bank you put in your bank, you put your account number. Modern designs don't ask you to put your account name. What happens is once you select the bank and you put your account number, it automatically loads and give you the account name. So it's not ideal for in that loading feature for you to use a modal to show that this thing is loading. Rather, use a loading indicator beside the side of the button to give the user that feedback that the system is loading the information. Okay, even though this is being used, it's not the best to action to perform. Don't take your user off his primary focus just to show him that an information is loading. In success also, I'm going to share you guys this screen. Please remind me, and I hope I don't forget. But I'm going to share this screen to you guys. It's always better to display the success messages within the inline of the screen or another screen entirely. Okay, this is when you're designing an application. So oftentimes when something is successful, rather than do a model, it's often best practice to show for take it to another screen entirely. But this is for an application. When you're building a web, when you're using a web platform, and then you use the model to ask the user, do you want to send? And the user confirm, yes, I want to send. It's ideal to continue in that process. Okay, for example, you use something that says deactivate account, and you do the option of deactivate. It's often ideal for a model to still pop up and tell you your account was deactivated successfully. Okay, so when it comes to web, most of these laws are broken as long as you're giving your user the best experience. Okay, so that's why app design, native application design differs from web application design. If you're doing a native application design, you might not necessarily need a model to tell you success. Success can just come up in another screen entirely with some information that accompanies it rather than cramping everything to a small model on a small screen. But when you're building for the web, you can play around. You can use a model to show a success screen to tell the user that this is the end of that process he initiated, and then he can choose to close it or do whatever action you tell him to do. So a quick note on using modal windows for one instance. It's possible to use modal windows when the user is about to take an action that has serious consequences and is difficult or impossible to reverse. What that means is a user wants to deactivate his account. That is a very, very serious case. If you use Facebook, you that it's very difficult for you to deactivate your account on Facebook. You have to go through some will tell you to enter delete. If you have done an account with MailChimp, you want to delete an item, it will tell you to enter to type the word delete in all caps to make sure you really want to do it. So what they do is they try to make it a little more difficult for you to perform that action. So oftentimes, rather than it's best practice rather than if a user wants to enter a serious um, action, he wants to, for instance, he wants to send money, money wants to leave his account. If it's crypto you're doing, he wants to send crypto, he wants to make a payment, actions that will cost him, he wants to delete an account or delete an item, is often best practice for you to bring up a model. What that model does is it gives him a one stepper for him to make a decision. If the model comes up and he really wants to send that money, send that crypto, make that payment, or delete that account or delete that item, at that point, it is his choice. So oftentimes people might be playing with something on their app. They're just testing. It's not ideal for me to just be testing and I see something that says probably uh, cancel. I don't know that cancel means cancel my account. I thought maybe that cancel means cancel this very thing I'm doing and go back to the next step. And I'll click on cancel. And if I know also my account is deactivated. So bringing up a stepper, a modal as another step that tells him, do you really want to perform this action? It saves him the headache and the blame you would have put on you as a product owner. So please take note of that. Number two, rules is ensure users understand what they need to do. Users should be able to read the text and understand the message you're trying to tell them. Okay. For instance, I want to delete an item, and then I click on the delete button, and a modal pops up that tells me, do you want to cancel this feature? Yes or no? That is a very, very wrong message that I don't even understand what I want to do. So rather than when the user clicks a particular call to action, the message that comes up on your model should be in line with what the user wants to perform. It should be clear and precise. Okay, try to match your primary action button, the text in your primary button, with the modal window title, because it makes it easier for users to understand the context. For instance, I want to delete an item. It's often important for you to show the title of the model. Let me do something. Let me show you an example of what I'm talking about. It's often important for you to um awesome. So look at these windows. Delete your account. What happened was the user clicked on delete. So the title of the window should have the action button that the user clicked on. Do you want to delete your account? Do you want to cancel this item? Do you want to upload this item? Do you want to send this money? So the user is not confused on what he needs to do. Okay. For example, when you ask the user to delete their file, instead of saying free your storage with action button yes or no, you should ask, do you want to delete your files with action button delete and cancel? So that way the user understands where they are coming from and what they need to do next. Number three, prioritize content and function elements in a modal window. Try to avoid situations where the content in a modal window requires a scroll bar. Okay, scrolling makes sense on a long page, but the modal window contains only essential information and action. That's why when you find yourself adding a lot of content within a modal window, it's time to stop and rethink your approach. In many cases, a regular page will better work for your user. So if you're imagine you want to um um what's okay, let me use this as an example. Imagine this is your this is a model. You see that there are so many things here. Let me open this. And why I said oftentimes something might look like it's nice, but it's a bad practice. So imagine this to be a model. Okay, you can't do all of this on a model. You can't change between tabs. You can't put somebody's email and click share. You cannot do a snack a ellipse. You can't do all of this on in a model. If you have information like this that you need to scroll, it's better you just create
Safe.
a
We get time
separate
for the
page.
publish.
Please mute yourself. It's better you just create a separate page where the user can go and perform all the action. Why? Because there are actions here that will require a modal or a pop-up or a notification. You don't want to have a pop-up on a modal or a modal on a modal. Okay. It's often for also stuff like this. Oftentimes, and oftentimes designers make the mistake of when you finish designing stuff like this, you make it easy for people to exit this model. How? You if a user clicks on the outside of this model, click on the outside, you can exit this model. So imagine I'm filling my card and I've mistakenly filled all this information, filled here, only for me to click on my country, and I choose a wrong country, and I don't know that I can click on it to choose another one. I click outside by mistake. This information is lost. It makes it difficult for me to come back here. So while this might look like a good example to save space and time, it might be a bad design because it does not allow me to do a lot of stuff here. So rather, it's better I create a separate page where user can fill all this information and then go back to their page. Okay, so avoid situations where the user has to do so much in a model or scroll on a model. If you have so much information like that, it's better you create a separate page for it. So ideally, your model should have one or two sentences in your model windows. Okay, model should not include more than two action buttons. A third action button, such as Learn More, which is typically used to navigate users away from the dialogue, should increases the risk of leaving the task unfinished. So, for instance, you have one, two, three action buttons here. What's the meaning of remove? What's the meaning of cancel? What's the meaning of save changes? This model is telling me to put in my card information and I can either choose to save it or cancel it. Why is this necessary? Or imagine a model where you put a learn more here. You know that once I go to that learn more, I can't come back to this model. And so this information is lost and the user becomes confused. So oftentimes put just an action or two where your user just perform those actions and they go to the next thing they need to do. Make a dismiss control button very visible. Very important. When the model is here, this is a dismiss control button. So either I'm going up, I'm canceling it. Every model you see should have a cancel button. Every model you see. If you have a model that does not have a cancel button, it is a wrong model. Look at it at the top. Make it very visible. Look at it here. Every model you see should have a very visible cancel option. Okay. Give the user control to exit that information. Size the windows appropriately. The size of a model window shouldn't be too long. The model window shouldn't take the entire screen. Ideally, it should not take more than 25% of the screen. So I was showing you this application I'm building. Now, see how the model window is. Imagine a model. Uh, Imagine I do this. This is no longer a model window. It's better I just open a new screen on its own. This becomes too much. So make your model very sizable. Okay, it's very important. Make your model very sizable. If you're working on the web, you're working on an app, make sure you make your model. It should not take more than 25% of the entire screen. Okay. Um, the next one, the next rules you should consider is put a model window in focus. This is what I mean by put a model window in focus. Remember I told you earlier that this could be a model window, but it's not in focus because the user is distracted by all of this information happening here. But by the time I blow out this information by giving the model a background, okay, give it a background and then make it stay on the foreground side of it, you give it that focus. So the user just focuses on this information and not all of this one at the background. Okay. Um,
Kelly,
put your
excuse me. I don't know if you've discussed number 4 and number 5, because we were at the part where you're talking about the modal not making it too big that you have to scroll for the users to have to scroll, and then you're now in number 6. So I'm wondering if you discussed number 4 and 5. Excuse
Yeah,
me.
this is number two I talked about. Errors,
Number
success rates. Number two is ensure users understand what they need to do. Number three is prioritize the content and the function of the model. Number four is make the dismiss button. Remember, I said this that every model should have a dismiss button, and I showed you a couple of examples. Make it very visible. Number five is size your window of the model appropriately. In this case, I showed an example of when I stretch my screen up and down. and then I tell you that this is no longer a model. This now becomes another screen on its own. Okay, so your model should not take more than 25% of your screen. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. So number 6, put a modal window in focus. So like I was explaining, um, when you're designing a model, every other information should be at the background and they should not be in focus. So that is why, even if you want to do a prototype and you want to do a model prototype, the system will ask you to add a background to it, though it gives you the option of doing that. It's very important for you to add a background to your model. What this background does is it elevates your model to the focal point and give it the attention it deserves, while every other information is put at the background. You don't want your users to, you don't want your model to look like this, and your users are confused on what to do. This one is even better. It even has a shadow. Let me remove the shadow. So imagine a model that looks like this. The user does not know what to do. Okay, so it's very important you note that point. Put a model window in focus. Don't use nested models. Never design a model window that trigger another model window. When you follow such approach, you add visual complexity to your design. If I can, let me see if I can, let me zoom this. You see what happens here. This is the background. This is the model. This is another model. So you're seeing 3 layers of design. This is bad design. If a model is coming up, the previous model should disappear. This model should replace that previous model. Okay, so please note that it's very, very important. Okay, what are the benefits of a model? It's flexible. What happens is models help preserve the page. It helps preserve the page space by displaying features, medias, images, and some other stuff on top of the page. So rather than squeeze all of these items inside this one page, it's better. What I did was to use a model to elevate one item over another item that is of more importance. Okay. What I could do here, another way to design this was when they finish filling this information, I can take this button up here, and then when they click on proceed, this button will come down here. This thing will come down here. This can still be a good design, you see. So this will not show. When you finish filling, you click on proceed, it now loads and it now brings up this thing for you to do. While this is a good design, it's more stressful and it takes up so much space. There's no need of me using so much real estate to show when I can just click on proceed and the model pops up and the user can do those things. So rather than cramp your design with so much um, information, what the model does, it gives you the flexibility to do a lot on that page. Let me show you one of the designs I did, um, and then explain that flexibility to you. Awesome. So you see what we did here. I used this is the app dashboard, and I want to use as a picture of as a header for this information. At the same time, I want to put the video so the user can watch how that video works. So what I did was I made this smaller. A person cannot see this, but when you click on it, a model comes up where you can now watch the full video. Okay, so rather than take this whole video and put it all of here or all of here, that might make the, if you see what happens is if you click on it, this video is hosted on YouTube. Okay, but if I had taken this video and upload it on this site, it might make the site to be very heavy. So what happens is I put a snippet here and linked it to YouTube. So when the user clicks on it, it plays on YouTube, and my website is not very heavy. Okay, that is what modal does. And please put that into consideration as well. So it makes your design flexible. Number two, is very simple to do. Models keep things simple. Everything starts within one tap, helping visitors stay connected with what they were doing before the model appears. So just like what I showed you here, that you can click on the model and see what you want to do. And when you're done, you click outside and go back to your page. It makes your design stay very simple. Visible. Since model appear within the user's active tab, you can be sure it will be seen. If instead the prompt were to appear in a new window, the user could miss it or instinctively close the new window after being conditioned by annoying pop-ups. So imagine if you click on this video and it opens on a different tab, the person might just get upset and leave your website entirely. But if you click on the video and it opens and you don't want to watch it, you can always go back to it. So that's the benefit of modal. Okay, I could click on it and then maybe by mistake and I don't want it, I can still go back to what I was doing rather than leave the site entirely. Okay, so when hope I'm not too fast, I'm trying to make sure I take up my 2 hours. I can't see your screen. The network is breaking on my end. Does anyone have access to? Can everybody hear me? Please give me
Yes, I
feedback.
can hear you.
Okay. Okay, so which means it's not from my end. Okay, so Tolu, please, you can log out just like Achibong suggested and then come back in. Okay, so when should you use mobile modals when designing your web? Number one, during warnings, alerts, and confirmation. For those times when a user really should see something, modal windows are excellent at directing attention. A modal can contain an alert about a significant event or error, a warning about the consequences of some action, or a confirmation of a completed process. So this is for web design. Remember, and remember I told you something earlier here on when you're designing for app. Do not use it to show error, weight, or success rate. But when you're designing for web, you can play around this. Okay, for instance, I want to delete something. Modal is used to give me a warning. Do you want to delete it? Yes, delete it. So I know that I really want to take the action and not because I made a mistake. Number two, for forms. Is a process on your website. If a process on your website requires users submitting information, you can place a form inside the modal window. Okay. For instance, you want the user to subscribe. A form doesn't have to be something very long. It could be first name or email address and subscribe button. Okay, so rather than taking your user to a separate page altogether, the modal pops up and the user just clicks on, put their information and they are good to go. You can use it to display media, just like I showed you on my website. This is one of the company I work for, one of our products. Simple, used to display media. So that's a perfect example of what a modal can do. Look at it here. So any question about modal before I go to the next topic? So how do you design a modal?
Can you come again concerning the uses of the modal? Thank you.
Okay, so when can modal be used in web design? It can be used to warn a user that wants to perform action. It can be used as an alert to also trigger a user to know that this action he wants to perform, these are the consequences. It cannot be used as a confirmation to confirm if a user really wants to carry out that action, just like the example shown here. Number two, a modal can be used as a form. In a process on your website, if a process on your website requires users submitted information, rather than taking a user to a whole page just to collect his first name and email address, you can place a form inside of a modal window. Okay, you'll see this often as an alternative to a dedicated page for a login / sign up, or one that prompts an email newsletter, content offer, or discount code. Let me show you an instance. Let me open a desktop app. Let me do this. Awesome. What I want to do is change this to black. Then I want to create a modal. And I want to add a form that says okay, I want to make this round. I want to give this guy a stroke. I want to make this guy a button. So I'm showing you what a modal can be used for. This can serve as a modal. Okay. So that's what this says here as a form. This can serve as a modal. Instead of taking your user to a separate page to just do a simple action like this on your website, it's better to just bring a modal that enable your user to do this effortlessly. Number 3, during media display. Media often supports the main content of a web page and sets the tone for a browsing experience. However, if an image gallery or a video serves as a focal point on your website, a modal window lets visitors view it in isolation without needing to open it in another page. For example, a user may click a thumbnail on the parent page, which opens up a modal for a gallery of related images. Easily navigable with arrow buttons on both sides of the window. This implementation is effective for product and portfolio display in particular, just like I showed you here. Instead of taking your users to a different page to view this video, just a modal solves that problem. Okay, a modal solves that problem. It pops up as a modal, put every other information on the background of less importance, and then it gives this user the focus to view this. And so once a user is done viewing this page, he already knows what he needs to do. Okay, so browsing the website becomes easy for him. But if you take a user to a page entirely, they might end up not coming back to that page that they left. So please put that into consideration. So I've how to build a model. I've already, that one is not something that is that you should not know how to do from the examples I've taught you here. Okay. Your model should not be more than 25% of your entire web page. Don't go and use something like this and say it's a model. Okay. This is over 80% of your web page. Rather, use a separate web page altogether. Okay. How to build a model. Something as simple as this. Whatever information you want to put should not be more than 25% of your entire web page. Okay. This is for web. If you're doing for mobile, the same thing. People should not have to scroll. Imagine you have a web application, you're scrolling your web application of your on your app, sorry. People should not have to scroll to use your model. Okay. Rather than having people scroll, use a separate page to pass that information. So is there a question for me on models?
No, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so in the absence of any question on models, let's go to pop-ups. So in pop-ups, we'll talk about pop-up, we'll talk about how to build a pop-up and action sheets. So pop-up and model, they might look quite alike, but they are not alike. Please note that pop-ups are windows that suddenly pop up or suddenly appears. Let me use appear. That suddenly appear in the foreground of a visual interface. Let me use this for instance. I think I designed the pop-up here. Hope these guys implemented it. Okay. Do you see this? I didn't trigger this information. Let me go back to my HIMA manager. I come to this website, I come to features, I come to flex, and I just want to do what? Use my website. And this information has stopped me from doing that. This is a pop-up. The user did not click any button to trigger it. It's just there on the page. So it's windows that suddenly appear in the foreground of a visual interface. This is the foreground. This is the background. Okay. If you go to let me try HubSpot. HubSpot usually have a lot of pop-ups. Let me try HubSpot. You can just be browsing through HubSpot. Let me go to see if I can get you a perfect. Let's finish loading. I want to show you a perfect example of a pop-up. I can just be scrolling through. You see how this came up. Can you guys see? Can you guys hear and see what I'm talking about?
Yes, yes.
Awesome. Please be giving me feedback. So you see how this guy just popped up from nowhere. We want to chat about HubSpot. I'm here to find your way. I didn't trigger this information. I was just scrolling on my own. Look at it. Also, it became bigger. Okay. I might look for let me click something here and just begin to scroll through and let's see if another one will come up. Okay, none came. But I think these are perfect examples. You just go to a website. I think most of the websites that do that are all these free movie download website. Let me go to website movie. You can just be browsing through like this and they will just pop up from nowhere and you see what I'm talking about and distract your browsing and they're just there. Okay. So that's the typical definition of pop-up. It's a form of online advertising and digital marketing strategy to promote content and products. Okay. It's also a graphical user interface display that can appear as a window in different sizes and screen position on websites, typically without the site visitor giving it permission to do so. They pop up on the screen. That is why they are called pop-ups. This is an example of a pop-up. You're just scrolling through, and this guy just come up, subscribe now. Pop-up seems to be annoying because they interfere between the content and the user. Of course, every person knows that pop-up is annoying. Every person knows that it's annoying. So what are the advantages of pop-up? It is easy to implement. You can quickly add them to the website. No need to spend extra hours designing all sorts. You can always easily change them as well. They are dynamic, and their design. The one of the advantages is their dynamism and design. The design trend of recent years is animation and effects, which break standard flat design, minimalistic and static style. Dynamic pop-ups with branded designs are more likely to attract users' attention. So oftentimes it's better if you see what happened here. It's better you use your own design and create something that is unique to your user. Brevity, one of the advantages of pop-ups. So here's a formula for up to two buttons, a clear call to action, 1 to 2 fields, and no distracting elements. It's really easy to understand what you should do when you see a pop-up. This, for instance, 75% discount. Enjoy a whopping 75% discount on Hima Manager Flex between now and July 15th. Sign up, simple. Once you click on this, it takes you to the sign up page. Right pop-up at the right time. Imagine if this pop-up had come up when I was at the home page. It would have been very, very annoying. But it doesn't come up at the home page. It comes up. Let me go to the home page. It doesn't come up on the home page because I don't really need that information here. So when does it come up? When I go to the Flex page, this is where the pop-up comes up because it is needed on this Flex page, not on the whole website. So do pop-up when it is needed and at the right time. So this, you might be asking, how does this concern us as designers? This is where you come in as a designer to advise when marketing wants to move mad, because marketing can just come down and say, let's do this. No, you need to advise them on the design thinking part of pop-ups. How does it affect us? A wrong pop-up at the wrong time can throw your user off. For instance, imagine you're just scrolling to your Mac and you come and see this thing, your Mac is infected. Check your Mac for virus. Like how? Okay, a wrong pop-up at the wrong time can throw your users off their off balance, and most of them can just leave your product in annoyance. Okay, and don't be using so much pop-up. So it's better, it's easier you understand this. Okay, not just how to design it. Pop-ups, there's no how to design pop-up. It's just design it. It's not like one gang design you need to do, but you need to understand what they are, how they are used, and when to use them. What are the different types of pop-up? There's the entry pop-up. Example is this guy. They can be overlapping, pinned to the top or bottom of a website, or placed without content overlapping. Such forms pop up before a page fully loads or almost right after its content is displayed. So, simple terms, it comes up once a person enters the website or enters a particular information. Second one is click pop up. They are activated when a user clicks a certain link, an image, or a word. Click pop-ups depend on action and are the least annoying to users. They appear when the user wants to see them, and they work gently without any risk to website. So that pop-up can happen without, for instance, when we went to the HubSpot website, um, let's go back to the HubSpot website. So as I was scrolling through this site, you will notice how this information came out subtly. Uh, Let me go back to the home page, see if that will work again. Okay, Oh, maybe it doesn't work. Maybe because I visited the site. But you saw how this guy popped up the first time. Um, the smaller one, not this big one. He just came up and he just stayed there. Okay. So oftentimes when I click on this, it comes up and it just stays there. So it's not this is not a modal. This is a pop-up. Notice it is not a modal, it is a pop-up. So I can interact with it while still doing whatever I'm doing on on my site. But a modal, you cannot interact with modal and still do what you're doing. You have to finish what you do on mobile, exit it before you can continue what you're doing on your website. Okay. So that's very important to note. The second type of pop-up, which is the click pop-ups. The third type is the sidebar scroll pop-up. This type of pop-up looks the most natural thanks to a suitable location and timing. They are displayed when users already have a good grasp of content and probably won't stop browsing the website. Just like when this guy appeared here on the sidebar, I'm doing what I'm doing. It's not distracting me. It's just there on its own. Okay. Um, Timed pop-up. This one happens when a user have spent a considerable amount of time on a particular site. So this is more or less like developer side of it. So it's not your concern, but oftentimes it's important for you to understand it because when you're in stakeholders meeting where we have marketers, developers, business people, and they're discussing stuff like this, your input as a designer will go a long way to help them make decisions. Most of them may not know how or when this thing comes up, but you understanding it now make you come out of the crowd. Okay. For instance, they're talking about how do we market this thing to these people. It's left for you to better explain to them that this will be good as a timed pop-up. Let the user spend like 20 minutes on the side, or if a user has spent like 3 minutes on the side, let the pop-up come. At that point, the user has consumed very good information that he won't want to leave. He will just have to do a particular thing. So for instance, let's say I come to HubSpot and I come to free online form builder and I'm reading on how to build an online form. See how interesting it is. I've learned and learned and learned, and at this point of say, let's say all about inbound marketing software for entire team. As I want to scroll, a pop-up now comes that says, "Fill this form to get free um, marketing form builder template on your on your email." There's no way I will not fill it because that is what I want. Okay, I already have read it, but I want the template. I want to download it and go use it step by step to build my own form. What happens is once that pop-up comes and asks me to fill that information, I will gladly do it without struggle. Okay. It's Oga Center design. If you're unfortunate to work in a company where Oga Center design is, you will struggle, but at a point, what happens is when you give your input, they will ignore it, especially if you're a junior designer. But that doesn't mean you should not keep on giving your input. One day when they ignore it and something goes bad, they will come back to refer to you. Okay, so your design career is not based on your guy, it's based on you and what you want to do. Okay. Um, so please note the different types of pop-up and where they apply. Then the last one, the exit pop-up. This one is it happens when the user has scrolled to the end of the website and is about to leave. Um, so placements of pop-ups. Pop-up can be placed in four distinct areas. Number one, the header. This type of pop-up windows appear at the top of the screen. They can also be dynamic to follow you. You can just be at the top of the screen, but they can follow you anywhere you're going, or they can just be there. Example, when you see cookies, if you enter a website for the first time, you see allow cookies, yes or no. It usually comes at the top of your screen or at the bottom of the screen. Okay. Um, the next one is the center. This is a perfect example of a center pop-up. they come at the center of your screen, the most common place for pop-up to display. The third one is the sidebar, just like what we saw here. It just stays at the side, either left or right. But oftentimes it's right, because that's where most people use most people use their right hands to browse the web. So it won't be ideal for me to be using my right hand to browse and then come and keep your pop-up here. It will be stressful for me to go from here to here to click. So oftentimes it usually comes here. So it's easy for me to just move rather than go to this side. That's psychology in design. And then the last one is the footer. Um, like I told you earlier, oftentimes most pop-up are put at the footer when people are doing what they are doing on the site. Just need them to subscribe or do some really quick stuff. So what are the types of pop-ups by their purpose? General types of purpose by their purpose is subscription. You want users to subscribe. This one usually comes in blocks. When people visit your blog sites, they usually consist of a call to action, one or two fields, your name or email, and a button. A callback. This is another type of pop-up that can directly help to increase direct sales. Users often cannot decide whether to place an order. Professional advice is like a sedative. For instance, you go to Jumia website. I think Jumia should have a pop-up. Let me check. You go to Jumia website and then you see that pop-up that talk about anniversary sales or buy this product and get 5% discount. I think they have taken it out. If you ever seen that, where you go to an e-commerce site and then a pop-up pops up that say they are doing anniversary sales, buy a phone, particular phone, and get a 10% discount. That's a callback. Um, um, there's also a promo offer and discount. This one can also be a centered pop-up, or it can also be a pop-up that comes by the sidebar. Usually display when there's a special promo or product that they want to sell. So please, some of you might end up working in an e-commerce company. It's very important you note all of this down. Don't just see why am I learning pop-up. This will come up. This might come up in any of your design decisions. Okay. So they might ask you, should we build a page to show promo? Rather than say yes, let's build a page. Let's just put a pop-up that shows people that we are running a promo. Yeah, they cancel it or they take an action. And then in one click order, click to order now. Simple. Just click and you're good to go. This pop-up are used to increase sales. They offer users to shorten the order path and then trust everything to a service provider. For instance, call to order. Okay, you could be going through a site and they say call this number to place an order. So rather than go through add to cart, input your cart number, enter address, just call the number and they do the order for you and you're good to go. So how do you build pop-ups? How do you build pop-ups? Number one, match the design of your pop-up with the design of your site. Imagine you are on Jumia and then you see a pop-up that comes. Let's say a pop-up comes for week and look at how Jumia website is. Everybody knows it's yellow. But you see this is a pop-up, but it comes like an ad. It's calling my attention to it. So imagine they design this thing and they use let's say purple to design this. It's totally out of place with their brand color. Okay. So when designing your pop-up, please ensure that your design is in line with your site, your website. Okay. Experiment with new shapes and colors when you're designing pop-ups. Um let's say this is a design and then this is a pop-up. Okay, experiment with shapes and colors. Why do you do that? So you can call your users attention. Okay, you can use a shape Or you can even make this a, let's make this, and then make this. So shapes and colors makes your user want to, it just draws their attention to it, and it just wants them, it just gives them that feel that they should do something. Okay, so that's how to build it. Experiment with new shapes and colors. Don't just do a plain pop-up and leave it there. Why? Because you want to call your users attention to that pop-up, and that's one of the things I did here. I use um um this gives icon. So this thing first of all calls your attention to it before you now want to even do any other thing on the site. Make your call to action button the center of attention. This is the only, this is the, after you see this, you read this, it just flows down to the major thing you need to do. It is the center of attraction of this thing. Make it big and bold that users don't, because that's what you want them to do. Take an action. So make your call to action button the center of attention on on the pop-up. Use fewer input fields. Don't go and do pop-up and you're putting first name, last name, middle name, address, email. Just make it a model and a form. Okay. Keep your input field at least two, or at most two, sorry. Name and email. That's all. Let them not going to be filling their biodata on your pop-up. It defeats the purpose. Okay. Use color contrast. Don't go and, this one is basic design knowledge anywhere. Imagine me using this is a pink background for this. It just spoils everything. So what you want to do is you want to give your users the attention to keep them and make them perform an action. Use the right font. Don't use fancy font to build pop-ups. Any question on pop-ups before I go to action sheets? Isaiah Peter, Akani, Faith.
Yes, I have a question. Good afternoon.
Who is speaking, please?
Edith.
Edit. Okay, edit. Oh, yeah. Ask me
Concerning
your question.
concerning the pop-up you did under your design, if by any chance maybe the user mistakenly tap on any screen like and then the pop-up disappears like and the user wants to go back like to see what's on that information, is there no space in your design where maybe that information that is on the pop-up can also be on the screen? I don't know if you get my point.
Yeah, that's why it's a pop-up. It's not a modal. So a pop-up comes just once. If I exit it, I can't do that information again. It's programmed to interrupt me while I'm doing something. So if it comes and I exit it, you see there's, you cannot do that again. Okay, if pop-up is not an intentional act by user, once you make it intentional, it becomes a modal. So that's like one of the major difference between a pop-up and a modal. Before I have to look at this pop-up again, I need to reload this page. There's no place here for me to click and the pop-up comes up. So that's pop-up for you. It's programmed to happen just once unless you perform that action again that causes it to come up. For instance, if um if you go to a website and they say subscribe and you exit, they can't ask you to subscribe again. You can, there's no way you can go and click and that pop-up will come out. So that is one of the disadvantages and the advantages at the same time of a pop-up. Okay. Okay, so let's go to action sheets. Just like the picture by your right connotes, action sheet is a modal view that presents choices related to an action people initiate. This often happens on a mobile app. An action sheet comes up from the bottom of the screen and displays actions a user can perform. That is not cast in stone. It must not be from the bottom of a sheet. It can just come out from anywhere. But oftentimes, especially for iPhone users, it comes up from the bottom of the screen. An action sheet is usually designed in an application. What are the best practices for an action sheet? Use an action sheet, not an alert. This is very important. There's a difference between an action sheet and an alert. Let me show you an alert. So that I want to show you, not explain it. Okay, this is an alert. There are plenty of them, but let me use this. Okay, this should be awesome. So maybe you want to do something and then it comes up and gives you warning. Okay, do you want to continue? Delete prototype, cancel prototype, and stuff like that. That is not what an action sheet is. Okay, use an action sheet, not an alert, to offer choices related to an intentional action. For instance, I want to share an item and I click on the share option. Let me look for an app. I think there's an old application I was building. Okay, I'm trying to redo this. Okay, this is it. So this is an action sheet. I click on this investment and it brings up this from the bottom where I need to take an action and click on invest. This is not, I want to redo this app because this is not entirely correct, but it's close to what I'm trying to show you guys. Okay, something like this is an action sheet. I click on make a repayment and then this guy comes up that asks me to select my card and pay. This is an action sheet. It's not an alert. Okay. Um, for example, when people cancel the mail message they're editing, an action sheet provides three choices. Either you delete, you edit, or you save. Okay, it enables you to take an action. Um, although an alert can also help people confirm or cancel an action that has destructive consequences, it doesn't provide additional choices related to the action. So, in best practice, in conclusion to that step, I want to explain the difference between an action sheet and an alert. An alert gives you the option of cancel or delete, or just give you two options. Either you choose one or you choose the other. But an action sheet gives you multiple options to do many things. It could ask you to delete, it could ask you to save, it could ask you to edit, it can ask you to share and stuff like that. Any model that opens or any um um I'll call it a model that opens up that gives you the option to perform more than two actions automatically becomes an action sheet. Okay. Um, Number two best practice is use action sheets sparingly. Action sheet gives people important information and help them make choices, but they interrupt what they are doing currently to do that. To encourage people to pay more attention to action sheet, avoid using them unless when it's necessary. Okay, it's not when I want to make payments and you're giving me action sheet to delete card, add card, upload, or do some really crazy stuff. Okay, so only put an action sheet when it's very important. Um, Aim to keep titles short enough to display on a single line. A long title is difficult to read quickly and might get truncated or require people to scroll. The next best practice is provide a message only if necessary. In general, the title, combined with the context of the current action, provides enough information to help people understand their choices. Make destructive choices visually prominent, just like what I showed you. If you want to build an action sheet, um, let's talk about this. Okay, and then you make this. 50%. So this is what an action sheet looks like. An action sheet comes up from the down and gives you an option to do a lot of stuff. So if you ever use your application, you see something like this. Okay, and now gives you the option to you guys hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So let's say this is an edit. This is save. This is delete. I want to make this guy as red as I can. So this is basically what an action sheet looks like. Okay. I can choose to make this a button if I want to. I can choose to leave it as a text button or as a major button. So this is a perfect example of how action sheet looks like. So it could give me different options, delete, cancel, and all that. I could press an item here and it gives me an option here. Let me enlarge this so you can see. Share, view, cancel, and stuff like that. Interrupt this information to give me this, enable me take an action. Or this on an iPad, close this tab, or open a new tab, open private tab, or cancel. Or an Android. These two are Androids. This is an iPhone. Settings, delete, cancel. So I believe you guys must have seen this. You guys must have seen this in when you use your application or use your mobile phone to do any stuff. So that is what that does. Give me, let me take some water. Okay. So what are the differences between a modal and a pop-up? So despite modals and pop-ups having very similar functionality, just like the question that was asked, um, the difference between the two comes down to the amount of attention they require. Modals do not allow you to interact with other elements on the page, which necessitates an immediate action on the user's part. Okay, in contrast, if the user chooses not to interact with the pop-up, they are free to continue interacting with the site while the pop-up remains on the screen until the user engages on it. But for a modal, you can't do that. Okay, just like what I showed you on the HubSpot website, you cannot do that with a modal. You must engage with a modal before you can perform any other action. While the pop-up can just be on its own while you do other things that you do. And then oftentimes a modal requires you to do more action or perform more action than a pop-up does. And then also a modal um, gives you the flexibility of reducing the amount of information on a page and then directing it to a modal for user to perform the remaining action. But the pop-up doesn't do that. What the pop-up just does is to generally give you it's like an alert system, but not an alert, but like an alert system that just gives you an alert for you to perform an action. So any question before we move over to the next? Oh, Steven, do you have a question? Tolu, you have a question? Tolu, do you have a question? Okay, if you don't, please, do you mind muting yourself? Okay, can the host mute Tolu, please?
Like, no, through this place now, I'm not giving you that.
Thank you. Okay, guys, please ask your question in the chats or unmute yourself to ask.
Okay, I really don't understand action sheets. You went through it. I didn't really understand it. I think I got confused after the part where you said use an action sheet, not a what's that stuff again? Not the stuff about the danger alerts. Okay, use an action sheet, not an alert.
An alert. Okay.
Yeah. After that, I
So
didn't understand what you're talking about. Even when you give instances, I didn't really understand.
okay, so an alert. What is an alert? First of all, an alert helps you to perform primarily two function, or will I say? Let me put it in a more um, design related definition of an alert. An alert gives you what word will I use to convey the principle I'm trying to explain? I would say
Warning.
an alert gives you like not just a warning. Alert could be a success message. I could perform an action and it's successful and it tells you your transaction was successful. That's an alert. An alert could give you a warning that you want to delete. An alert could tell you your account balance is finished. You want to make a call and they receive that NTM message that tells you don't have enough sufficient credit or you have 000 balance. So those are alerts. They are different from action sheet. So you could want to perform an action and an alert tells you, do you want to delete this item? Yes or no. It just gives you the option of performing one primary action and one secondary action, which is a yes or a no. Either choose to delete or you choose to cancel. You can now say, okay, let's say a success message pops up that your transaction is successful. The next thing is okay, or go to home page, or whichever action, or there's no call to action, you just exit. That is an alert. An action button is not an alert.
So is an
An action,
alert a modal?
an alert is an alert can be a modal. Okay, an alert can be a modal when you're designing for web. I told you guys, let me look for that definition, that stuff. I told you guys here. Um, when models are used in web design, this is an alert. When you're designing for the web, this could be an alert. There is no cast in stone um, way of doing this. They are just best practices. For instance, if you look at Twitter navigation menu, you find six, I mean seven action buttons there. That's like the first of its kind. Best practice will tell you not to go beyond five, but Twitter puts six. Okay, so oftentimes design laws can be broken when it's necessary, but not as if you break it whenever it doesn't suit you. I want to do what suits you. So an alert can be a model if it is necessary to pass on that information. An alert may not be a model, and that is why I told you here that action sheets are not models. For instance, you could want to perform an action. You could want to click on a button, and then something will pop up like this that will tell you, do you want to perform that action? For instance, let's say you have something like this. You want to delete. A pop-up will come here that will tell you, do you want to delete an item, delete or cancel? These are different functions to an action menu that tells you settings, delete, and cancel. So in I know my mind is telling me you still do not understand. Let me make it simpler. An action menu gives you two options. Either you proceed or you cancel. That's like the simplest way you can view it. an alert system, sorry. An alert system gives you two options. Either you cancel or you proceed. Why? Because it's prompting you that a major action has been taken or a major action is about to happen. Do you want to go ahead with that major action, or is a mistake and you want to cancel it? You have the option of choosing between those two. But an action sheet is intentional to allow you to perform a couple of actions more than just two primary actions that says cancel or proceed. Do you understand? It offers you a choice of intentionally carrying out multiple actions. For instance, you click a tab, a bar, or a button, and it brings up option that says, like what we have here, settings, delete, and cancel. This is not an action button. Action. This is not an alert system. This is not alerting you to anything. This is allowing you take an action. This is a sheet or um an element that allow you take a lot of actions. So that's why it's called an action sheet. This is a sheet like a paper that has a lot of actions for you to take. This is the same thing. It has 4 actions for you to take. Same thing here. Have a couple of actions for you to take. So it is not alerting you to a destructive feature where you have to take 2 actions. Either you allow it destroy by proceeding, or you cancel it by canceling. An action sheet gives you the flexibility or the intentionality of making multiple choices that is related to an intentional act. Do you understand,
Yes.
Olivia?
So an action sheet is like, okay, like what you showed on the screen on the iPhone when it gives you the options. That's stuff that pops up when when you're using the iPhone. I understand because from what you're showing on the screen, just like how do I put it now? Just like it's shown on the screen, this iPhone, you just changed what I was looking at. I can't
Yeah,
find it.
I know. I'm looking for. Yeah, this is an alert. I want to show you the difference when it comes to usage. I want to show you a real life example. This is an alert. Um,
I understand the alerts. I'm talking about the action sheet now.
okay. So this is an alert. Either you accept or you
Or
decline,
you
and then this is
or
an
you
action
decline, yeah.
action sheet. You understand, right?
Yes, I understand. Just like when you're using the iPhone and then you want to save a picture, it's now asking if you want to save it in your files, if you want to like
Perfect.
do multiple actions. I understand.
Perfectly. It gives you multiple actions. Does everybody understand?
I understand. Thank you.
Oh, okay, okay. You're welcome. Okay, so in the absence of any question, we have 33 minutes left. I hope we're able to finish this in 33 minutes. Okay, so we are going to go to navigation. We'll talk about tab bar. We'll talk about notifications. We'll talk about icon tab bars. Talk about floating action buttons, hamburger menu, and ellipsis. You understand the differences and how they apply. What's a tab bar? Tab bar uses bar items to navigate between mutually exclusive panes of content in the same view. Tab bars help understand the different types of information or functionality that a view provides. Tab bar help people to understand the different types of information or functionality that a view provides. I repeated this. They also let people quickly switch between sections of the view while preserving the current navigation states within the same section. This is an example of a tab bar. While I have not done a lot of practicals today, is because we have a lot to do and time, and I'm also showing you what I'm doing or what I've done, so it's better easier for you to understand. So now this is a tab bar. Don't confuse. Tab bar is a form of navigation. So oftentimes we use navigation, we use tab bar. I show you a screenshot here. In this screenshot, you see this. This is a navigation menu, right? When you're building an app, it's also a tab bar. This is not. This is navigation menu also. Navigate from one place to another, and it's also a tab bar. Same thing with this. Okay, so don't come and ask what's wrong between a navigation menu and a tab bar. They are practically and almost the same thing. It enables you move, navigate from one page to another, while not losing that um, information you saw. For instance, let me do this. This, if you look here, this house, there are three different tab menus here: bank transfer, USSD, and card payment. This is for three options. I can choose to do 4 items. It becomes four. I can choose to do 2 items. It becomes two. So tab bar is, you can't just do one item and call it a tab bar. No, it's a tab bar because you need to move from one item to another. At the same time, you don't lose where you're coming from. But once you make it just one item, it's no longer a tab bar, it becomes a button or just an information. Okay, so I can move from bank to USSD. You're seeing it. Move from USSD to bank. While I'm in bank, I'm still seeing USSD and card payment. When I come to USSD, I'm still seeing bank transfer and card payment. Okay, so the tab bar enables me move from one navigational menu to another, while still not losing where I'm coming from. I can still navigate to different places. So this is a tab bar. This guy is also a tab bar. I can move from here to here, from here to here without losing anything. Okay. Where is the other application I wrote? Let me see if I can find it. But we don't have that time. So practically that is what a tab bar is. Okay. I can move from one place to another without losing where I came from. Okay. This guy can also be a tab bar. Move from here to here, from here to here, without losing where I came from. Okay, so don't just mistake. Don't say what's the difference between a tab bar and a navigation bar. They're practically almost the same thing. If not, they're practically the same thing. So that's why I put these three different examples here, so you understand that these are different types of tab bars. Okay, so what are the best practice? Use a tab bar only to enable navigation, not to help people perform actions. A tab bar lets people navigate among different areas of an app, like an alarm, a stopwatch, a timer taps in the clock app. If you need to provide controls that act on elements in the current view, use a toolbar instead. For instance, this is a toolbar. If you can see my screen, this this is my Google Slides. This is file, edit, view, insert, format, slide, arrange tools. These are, if this down one are also toolbar. Don't mistake a tab bar for a toolbar. Okay, if you need to provide control that act on elements in your current view, use a toolbar instead. Okay, tab bar should not have. So I think we are going to go there. Why I said you should use a toolbar instead of a tab bar. Okay, only provide navigational elements when you're going from one place to another, and not to perform a particular not to help you perform particular actions. I know somebody somewhere in this my class don't understand what that means. Let me come back here. I want to help you navigate from home to customer. I want to help you navigate from bank to USSD. That is the function of a tab bar. When I come to navigating from deposit money to withdraw, tab bar is no longer needed here. Instead, what I meant there is use a toolbar. Rather than use a tab bar, just come up here and land all your information there as tools. Okay. So because if you go from one place to another, I'm helping you perform action. It could be deposit money, which opens up the drawer for deposit money and then takes you from one place to another place to another place to another place. It's different from a tab bar that takes you from home to customer, and you can go back to home and you can go back to transaction. If I come to deposit money, I may not be able to come back to deposit money unless I click on the next option. For instance, awesome, let me come here. I won't be able to come back to this page, okay, unless I click on this previous button. Okay, if I don't click on this previous button, I'll be able to come back to this stage. But the tab bar enable me come back to this stage without having to click on any other previous button. It enables me move from one stage to another stage, or without having to perform any third-party option and come back to the previous stage. So please, I hope you understand that. Um, so let's use this for instance. Tab bar enables you from home to management to wallet to financial and to more. When I now come to wallet, this is tab bar also enables me to move from bank transfer to USSD to card. Okay, I can move from one tab to another tab. But by the time I start filling this, click on next. This is no longer a tab bar. Okay, this now becomes an action button that allows me to do something entirely different. Make sure your tab bar is visible when people are navigating to different areas in your application. The exception is a tab bar within a modal view, because a modal view gives people a separate experience that they dismiss when they finish. Hiding the views tab bar doesn't affect app navigation. So oftentimes it's not ideal to use tab bars when you're designing for a modal. Okay. So if I what that means is, if I have a website that has a tab bar and I click and the modal comes up, is that tab bar can disappear while the modal is showing. Okay, don't make your tab bar visible while the modal is showing. Everything that is in the background should disappear. Only your modal can have a tab bar. Okay, your modal can have a tab bar where you can move from one step to another step on that modal until you close it. Okay, hope you understand that. Use the minimum number of tabs required to help people navigate your app. This complements this. Okay, each additional tab increases the complexity of your app, making it harder for people to locate information. Aim for a few tabs with short titles or icons to avoid crowding and causing tabs to truncate. In general, use 3 to 5 tabs. Once it goes more than 5 tabs, it becomes a what's the best word I use here? A toolbar. Okay. Once it becomes more than 5 tabs, it becomes something else. Okay. Um, so when using an app, don't use more than 5 when you're building an app. If you're building, if you're designing on web, you can use more than 5. Um, you can use more than 5, but minimalize it also. The fact that I say you can use more than 5 on web doesn't mean you're going to use 50 tabs. This thing have changed from a tab bar to a toolbar instead. Keep tabs visible when their content is unavailable. This is what it means. The fact that these contents are not in use doesn't mean this should disappear. The focus is on this because this is what is in use. When I move over to this becomes not in use, but they are still visible. So the user can always click on them and go back to what they are doing. Okay. Um, Use concrete noun or verb as tab titles. Okay, good tab titles help people navigate by clearly describing the type of content. For instance, what I showed you here, bank transfer, USSD, card payment. Okay, these are tab um tab titles. Okay, so it should be verb. But consider noun for category titles. There's a difference between tab title and category title. This is a tab title. This is a category title. Fund my account. The category of this process I want to do is to fund an account, but the tab bar is the action I need to the verb, sorry, the action I need to do. So and I want to use USD, it's a verb. I want to do payment, it's a verb. I want to transfer, it's an action. Okay, so leave it as short as possible. Don't go and be doing make payment. If you want to make payment, click here as a tap bar option. You just make your design a whole worse. So because of overcrowding tabs with functionality, tabs represent an app's menu of options. Tabs title, tabs titled home tends to be too large in scope of an app, aim to create focus by presenting specific and descriptive category of content or functionality of on each tab. So for instance, this guy is taking you to customers where you see all your list of customers. This guy is taking you to transactions where you see all your list of transactions. This guy is taking you to your home where you see all the list of what's going on in your home. Okay, I think I did similar things for this. Your home, your save, portfolio, rewards, account. Don't go and be using financial management or money saved. Don't use so much words when you're doing the tab. So I'm going to design a tab to show us how to design a tab. I'll design a 5-tab system. So I want to choose the phone I'm using, iPhone Pro Max. The height, I want to reduce this to 120. This is the height. Yeah, this should be okay. Or I can make it 100. I think 120 is too much. 100 is okay. Awesome. So what I want to do is I want to do home. Okay, I want to do this. Remember, this is 100. I want to make this 120. Okay, I want to make this 16. Okay. Then I want to choose a home button here. Let me just search. Okay, then I want to lay out this guy, make it 8 so it doesn't look too large. Then put both of them in the middle. I want to take this guy here so it fits. Then okay, 120 is too much. So what's the distance between here and here? 39. 39 is too much. I want to make it my what do you call this guy? My width is 24. My margin is 24. And so from this side also it has to be 24. So I'm gonna make this 90. Awesome. So I want to duplicate this and duplicate and duplicate. This is 4 and duplicate. This is 5. So this becomes a problem. But I want to do a four menu item. Drag these guys. Awesome. So what happens now is I have a better centralized item in a bucket. Okay, so I can do this save. uh I can do this send. I can do this settings. Then what happens now is this is my navigation bar. This guy is the most important thing I want to do here. I want to give him highlights. So I change his color to, let me use this. And then I change this guy's color to this. Then I can make this guy bold. So when the user comes here, the user knows that this guy is the action. And you see how all of them are of different sizes. All of them are of different sizes. So I can change anything inside here without it affecting this box. I can change this to a longer term called financial, and it still will not affect my box. Everything is still inside my box. Okay, so you want to put that into consideration when building your tab bar or your navigation bar, if that's what you want to call it. So if I drag this guy inside here now, it sits perfectly well. Okay, I can also choose to do another type. Let me do this. Let me do 414. Let me make this 60. Okay, so see what I want to do here. I want to draw a line here. And then I want to let me make this, drag it to the end, and then divide it by 2. Let me give it color so that I can know what I'm doing there. Then this is navigation 1. I want to centralize this guy. I want to drag this guy here. And then I want to make this guy white. And make this guy white. And then I want to make this guy black. And make this guy gray. Navigation 2. Navigation 1. So even if I make this guy bold and give this guy some colors, so what happens now is um where is my line? Okay, so this line, I want this line to come into navigation 1. I also want this line to come into navigation 2. You see what I'm doing? I'm building something. Okay, so this navigation 1, the black will also carry this guy. So this is a navigation bar. If I take this guy,
Chris, what are you designing for?
ah,
What are you designing?
are you serious? Whoa.
I just want to know, please. Like,
No, I'm just surprised, Carl. I'm designing. We are still on on tab bar.
Okay,
So
great.
I'm showing you
Okay,
how
okay.
to design
No
tab bar.
problem, no problem. I understand the concept of tab bar though. Don't worry, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay,
Because
yeah.
navigation one is like moving from one navigation to the other, but still on the same path. What any that you told us. I
So
understand.
you see this, I now make this an auto layout. So this is what happens when I come to this guy. I can easily switch from this to this, and then I change this to 1, and I change this to 2, and I'm good to go. So that's just how to design simple tab bars, whether it's the bottom navigation tab or your tab bar you want to use for your application. So you can use it, you can make it a component. So when you want to make any changes, you just go here and make your change. Always make your reusable element component, and then label it appropriately. Then publish it to community, so you can use it across board. Okay, man, just 10 minutes. The next is notifications. So a notification is a message that appears outside your app's UI to provide the user with reminders, communication from other people, or other timely information from your app. User can tap the notification to open your app or take an action directly from the notification. Common app notification, status bar, and notification drawer. So when you issue a notification, it first appears as an icon on your status bar. If you look at this guy, let me get it to. I wish this was Figma. Okay, if you look at this guy, you see two navigation app icon here, the message icon and the email icon. That is your status bar. Okay, that's status bar. So when on this type of notification, when it comes in, it comes as a status bar. So when user swipes and swipes down, it becomes a notification drawer. So users can swipe down on the status bar to open the notification drawer. This is what notification drawer is, where you can view more details and take action with the notification. Um, the second one also is a heads up notification. So if you're on WhatsApp or you're on Twitter, and then you will see a WhatsApp message that appears like this, you can choose to reply or delete or mark as read or do whatever you want to do. I don't need to design this one because I believe every one of us here must have seen this. Even now, if you're using your phone, I'm very sure you must have gotten a notification from WhatsApp or Instagram on something like this. Then we have the lock screen notification. This one comes when your application screen is locked. You can choose to swipe it down to view more, or you can choose to exit. This one can be set in your system settings. So notification anatomy, how to design a notification template. This is it. Notification template must have the first of all, it must have the app icon. So where is lock screen notification, heads up notification, or status bar notification, and all that. It has to have, number one, your app icon. Number two, you have to have the name of the application that the notification is coming from. Is it WhatsApp? Is it Telegram? Is it Instagram? Number three, you have to have the timestamp that the notification came into your application. Number four, it has to have the app icon of the sender. Okay, the large icon of the sender. Number four, it has to have the title. It's very important. Number five, sorry, what's the title of the notification and the body text of the notification. Usually, this is a snippet. If it's a longer body text, just the first snippet, get the user to preview what the notification is. You can now go for that to do more information on it. So, establishing a helpful notification framework. To design a notification framework, helpful to think of notification in terms of signal. Which referral message need more or less attention? For example, interaction that may potentially be productive need louder notification, and non-destructive interaction needs quiet notification. Example of loud notifications are alerts, exceptions, confirmation, errors are high attention notification. Medium attention notifications are stuff like acknowledgement, warnings. Then lower attention notifications are stuff like success messages, status indicators, um, battery full and stuff like that, badges. Okay, so high attention alerts, immediate attention is required. Battery low is a high attention notification. Error, uh, uh, message not sent is a high attention notification. Exception, system anomaly, something did not work. Confirmation, potentially destructive actions that need users to proceed is high attention notification. Then media, for example, acknowledgement, feedback on when that takes an action. So mind you, the fact that I showed you this doesn't mean these are the only types of notification we have. Please, okay? You could be filling a form and then you get an error that the form you're filling is not correct. That is a notification as well. Okay, so this thing looks intertwined. It could be like alert, a notification. Yes, anything that gives you an information on an action you want to perform, an action already performed or something, as long as it gives you, it makes you prepared, or it gives you an information of something that is about to happen, or an information about something you want to carry out, or a feedback. As long as it gives you a feedback, let me just put it that way. Anything that gives you a feedback is a notification. Okay. Status indicator, system feedback is notification. For instance, on my screen here, I'm sharing screen. I got a notification that design pal is sharing your screen. That is a notification. My app update is about to expire. My app, I need to update it. This update here is the notification. Okay, so it's not just about app and these are the types. These are the common types, not that they are just that only type. So that's why I went for that to tell you about all of this high attention, medium attention, and low attention notification. This is a perfect example of a notification. LinkedIn. This tells you that there are new posts that are available, new contents available. Click on it, it refreshes your app. This also tells you that if you look at the red listing here, that there is something that is here for you to take action on. This also tells you to take action on this. So whatever gives you an information or gives you a feedback for you to take an action on is a notification. So how do you design great notification UX? Number one, to design a notification UX, you need to first of all make a list of all the use cases where a notification is essential for your design. It is not every design that needs a notification, especially the common types of notification where you see a bell at your um, the app side. Okay, it's not all that needs that. So you need to understand at what point in this design is the notification required. When a user is about to enter an information and they enter a wrong field, do they need a notification? If a user is about to confirm, so when you draft out all those, it gives you a fair idea of what to do and how to do it. Okay, so that is done. The next thing is once armed with the list of use cases, it's also important that you sit down with the developers and other stakeholders to explain to them where this notification is required. Okay, so that so most of these people they have knowledge on how a user reacts to information, and you as a designer may not have monopoly of that information. Marketing, business devs may have those information readily. Okay, so it's better for you to, it's easier if you have those guys in your team for you to walk them through, and then for them to understand that at this point the user will require a notification.
Their website, so
Okay,
something. I stop for the weekend. My life.
what's going on? Okay, um, so once I'm with the list, the next step is for you to categorize the notification based on the desired attention level and the attributes. Like I told you, once you make the list of all the notification that is required, categorize them. Are they high risk? Are they low risk? Are they medium? So once you've done that, notification should not be intrusive. This needs to be done carefully. So some of the questions you need to ask yourself is, what will trigger this notification? What type of feedback do I want to communicate? Where would the notification appear? Is it at the top? Is it at the site? If I'm building a website or application, should it come as a model? Should it come as a app icon? Should it come as a notification bell icon? Do I want it to come as a pop-up? So these are questions you ask yourself. Where would it appear and how would it appear? Which notification will require an immediate interaction? If I'm filling a form and I make an error, I want a notification that will make me take an immediate action. Is the notification persistent or non-persistent? So these are the questions that guide you to designing a good notification designs. So you want to, once you ask yourself those questions, you want to color code your notification in the order of importance. So high uh, attention notifications are usually color coded in red or yellow. Okay, you want to delete, you want to error messages, alerts, delete are usually on red, yellow. Okay, warnings, which is low messages, are usually, or acknowledgement are usually on green. Then low ones like success, information and stuff like that are usually either black or white or green. So you want to color code it according to its importance. Okay. Um, the next one is the placement. The placement of notification is also very important. At the risk of stating the obvious, to avoid obscuring the interface, notification to appear at the top or the bottom or near the corner of a UI. It can also come up in the middle, but um, depends on the type of notification you're using. Remember, I told you notification of different types will come at the top as an alert or a bell here. It could come when you're filling a form and you make a mistake. It can still come as the invalid input. Correct. It can come as a pop-up. Okay. So you want to know where you're placing that. Example, look at this. This notification. Allow, don't allow. I want to make an action. It's asking me to allow or not, delete or not. These are notifications. Okay. Um, so I'm going to
Please,
send you
are
this
we
slide.
getting this PDF? Sorry, this slide
Yeah,
PDF.
yeah, I'm sending. Don't worry, I'll send you the slides immediately the class
Great,
is
thank
done. So our time is up already. I'm going to just rush through it. So just like I told you last time, endeavor to ask me any question you don't understand. I'll send it, go through it. If you can, read up on your own online as well and ask me questions on the Slack channel. I'll answer all of them. Okay, notifications best practices. Classify notifications by the 3 attention level we discussed earlier. When creating a style guide for notification systems, specify the maximum character for the length of the notification you want. You don't want to go and be writing your life story as a notification. Okay. Pay attention to adaptability and flexibility to accommodate different content types and text length. Create a consistent color scheme for your notifications. You don't want to have um, an error notification as a red color at the beginning of your app, then the later part of your app, you now have an error as a black color. It throws the user off. Create concise, easy to read notification that provide useful information. These are the remaining ones. Read it up later. These are different types of notifications. Um, Feedback that tells you thank you, delete. You have calls, missed calls, and stuff like that. Read all of this one later. So these are the types of notifications as well I told you about. Okay, profile management is complete, but it's in blue. But there's a warning icon here because there's something else you need to do. Tag management is needs urgent help. So as a user, if you look at these 5 elements here, the one you are most likely to attend to speedily is this, because it's calling you out because of the color. They have different icons. They have the same icon, sorry, but because the color is red, it calls your attention. Come and attend to me. And naturally, psychologically, you attend to him the first. And then these are also notifications. This is required information and stuff like that. It gives you that, it tells you that I need you to fill in this information correctly. The next is icon tabs. I'm going to rush through this. So icon tab bar comprises a series of tabs that each link to a different content area or view. You can use it to navigate within an object or as a filter. There are two use cases. You want to let users navigate between different object facets in the object details area. You want to let users filter a list and give them the option of calling up the entire list or only items to a specific attribute. The user can switch between tabs by clicking the assertive icons. So these are icon tab bar. It doesn't require what, just you can go from one place to another without having to. This is not often, personally I don't often use this, because for me I think users are very stupid. Not like stupid like stupid, but users can behave like children. You can use an icon tab bar like this and they literally will not know what it means. So what I do is I often label my icons. This is share, I will put the icon, I put share. If this is copy, I'll put the icon, I'll put copy below. So just in case, action button, a floating action button represents the primary action in an application. A floating action button is used for a promoted action, shaped like a circle icon floating above the UI. It changes shape upon focus and lifts upon selection. So to build an action button, the best practice is an action button comes, it elevates above a design. For instance, um, I have I want to add a very important feature on this place. What is that feature? That important feature I want to add is withdraw. Withdraw is a very important feature to me, but if I put it on this nav bar, it may defeat that purpose of what I want the user to do. It's like the primary thing to do on this app. So what do? I make withdraw an action button. How do I do that? Okay. I can make this white. I'm gonna make this white. This guy purple. I'm going to make this 35 and then group it. If I take this guy and put it here, it's a flat button. It doesn't pass the purpose of what I want it to pass. So what do I do? One of the best practice for action button is it elevates your floating button. That's why it's called a floating button. It elevates above all other buttons and gives it that importance that this is urgent. So what do? I add an effect, which is a drop shadow. I don't like using pure black for drop shadow, so I'm going to use this guy and then I'm going to make him 50. I'm going to make the blur 24. I'm going to make this 8. So you see how This withdraw is the primary thing I want him to do here. But at the same time, I don't want it to be in the navigation bar. So I make it a floating button. So very important for you to note, your floating button must have good contrast. Your user should be able to see it and understand what they want to do. And it must always have a shadow. That is why it is called a floating button. Okay. Your shadow should not be heavy. Don't go and do shadow and make this. This is not a floating button. This is a nuisance to the society. Your shadow should be very subtle, where it looks as if the button elevates above every other content on your design. The next is your hamburger menu. Hamburger menu is an icon used on a website or an app. It when it's clicked or tapped, it opens up the side menu. Now, a hamburger menu is used to conceal. It's just like
Hello. Hello. I can't hear you.
can you hear me now? I need to
Yes, I can
unmute
hear
for
you.
awesome. So let me try and be fast. Where did you hear me last? Where did I stop? So I'll know what next to do.
Hamburger menu.
Awesome. So let me see if I can round up in 3 minutes. So hamburger menu conceals. You have a lot of menu items you want to display at the top of your screen, but there's not enough space. What happens is you put the hamburger menu and conceal all the items under the hamburger menu. So when it's being clicked, it displays the remaining items that are supposed to be there. Okay, it's called hamburger because it takes the form of the hamburger sandwich. There are also different types of menu. There's a kebab menu, there's a bento menu, there's a meatball menu. It's the same thing, just different ways being represented. Okay, so that's the primary function of hamburger menu. Just 3 lines, and then you could play with the lines. You could do one could be bigger than the
I cannot
other, but
see your screen.
pardon.
I can no longer see your screen.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for calling my attention to that. So, the hamburger menu. This is what the hamburger menu is. The three.
I can no longer hear you.
Same here. I can't hear you, Hawaii also.
I can no longer hear you. I can no longer see your screen.
I think he's trying to fix it.